Ethan never expected that sharing an apartment with an alien would feel so normal after just 1 week. When he signed up for the Galactic Cultural Exchange program, he imagined dramatic adventures, strange foods, and maybe a floating bed or two. Instead, he found himself living in a small but neat apartment with someone who was quieter than a shadow and more disciplined than any human he had ever met. Her name was Lyra. She came from a planet called Solara, a world known for its beautiful night skies and strict warrior traditions. She was tall, slender, and always wore layered clothing that covered every inch of her skin from neck to toe. Her robes were long, almost like ceremonial armor, with silver threads embroidered in patterns that looked like constellations. She spoke softly only when necessary, and never raised her voice even when machines malfunctioned or alarms blared outside their window. Ethan had tried several times to start a friendly conversation. He would ask how her classes were going or offer her his homemade noodles, but she always responded with short replies like "acceptable" or "I have already eaten." He was certain she did not dislike him. She simply existed in her own space, moving like a trained guardian on constant duty. Despite her serious attitude, Ethan admired her. She woke up at exactly 5 every morning and performed silent exercises in the living room without making a sound. She cleaned her dishes the moment she finished eating and organized her belongings with mathematical precision. She never left anything on the floor or forgot to turn off a light. Compared to her, Ethan felt like a wild animal that wandered into a temple. Even though she rarely smiled or spoke, Ethan sensed she was not cold-hearted. There were small details that hinted at kindness. Sometimes she would leave a cup of warm herbal drink on his desk when he was up late studying, without saying a word about it. Once she fixed the broken strap on his backpack using some metallic thread he could not identify. And one night, when he accidentally fell asleep on the couch, he woke up with a blanket covering him and the heater set to just the right temperature. She never admitted it, but he knew it was her. He appreciated everything she did, but he also wished they could talk like normal roommates. He wanted to know more about her world, her goals, her dreams. Yet every time he tried to ask, her expression would turn unreadable, and she would excuse herself politely as if emotions were dangerous territory. Then came the night that changed everything. The university had announced sudden maintenance work on the city's water grid, but neither Ethan nor Lyra expected it to affect their apartment so soon. Ethan was in his room working on a research project when the lights flickered twice and then stabilized. He ignored it at first, thinking it was just a minor glitch, but then he heard a soft chime from the control panel near the hallway, followed by a warning message in both English and Solaran script. It stated that water temperatures might fluctuate unexpectedly, and users should be cautious. He shrugged and continued typing. A few minutes later, he heard a noise like a burst of steam, followed by a startled gasp from the bathroom. His heart jumped. Lyra was inside. He stood up immediately. The bathroom door in their apartment was not a solid door like human ones. It was a sliding, translucent panel made of privacy glass that blurred silhouettes but allowed light to filter through. Usually it was perfectly secure, but malfunctioning systems could sometimes reset the locking mechanism. Ethan hesitated. He did not want to invade her privacy, but the noise he had heard sounded like distress, and knowing how disciplined she was, she would never make such a sound unless something was truly wrong. He approached the door carefully. He could not see clearly through the frosted surface, but faint ripples of light moved inside, like reflections on water. He raised his hand and called out gently, "Lyra, are you okay?" There was no response. His worry grew. He pressed his palm against the panel to check for heat or pressure, but before he could call out again, the door suddenly slid halfway open. The malfunction must have affected the lock. He froze in place. Lyra was in the bathing pool, knee-deep in shimmering water, but she did not look like the reserved figure he knew. Her layered garments were gone, and her skin, if it could still be called skin, was glowing. It was not a single solid color. It moved like living stardust, shifting from deep silver to soft blue to faint lavender in slow waves. Patterns of radiant dots appeared across her arms and collarbones, like constellations coming to life. Her hair was not hair at all, but strands of pure luminescent light that floated weightlessly around her shoulders, reacting to her breathing. She turned sharply and stared at him, her expression filled with shock. For the first time since he met her, she looked vulnerable. Ethan's instincts acted before his thoughts. He immediately spun around to face the wall, panic rushing through him. "I'm sorry. The door malfunctioned. I didn't mean to. Are you hurt? Do you need me to call maintenance?" There was silence for a few long seconds. He could hear only the soft dripping of water and his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. Then her voice came, quiet and controlled as always, but softer than he had ever heard it. "You saw?" He kept staring at the wall, refusing to turn back. "I saw nothing. I saw something, but I'm not looking. I'm really not. If you want, I can go outside." There was a faint sound of movement behind him, like water shifting under cautious steps. "You are not afraid?" The question surprised him. He expected her to be angry or embarrassed, but she sounded uncertain. "Afraid? No," he replied honestly. "You just look different, but not in a bad way." He heard her exhale slowly, not a sigh of frustration, but something closer to relief. "You may turn around," she said, calmer now. He hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I am covered." He turned carefully. She stood near the pool's edge, wrapped in a shimmering towel-like fabric that seemed to form itself from the glowing water. Although her body was mostly hidden again, faint light still flowed beneath the surface of her skin, pulsing slowly like the rhythm of stars. Her gaze was steady, but her voice held quiet tension. "You were not meant to see this. Sailorens keep their natural forms hidden among outsiders." He nodded respectfully. "I understand. It was an accident. I didn't want to disrespect your privacy. You spoke truth when you said you were not frightened?" "Of course. Why would I be? You look beautiful." She blinked, clearly not expecting such a direct answer. A faint ripple of light traveled down her shoulders, almost like a blush. Most other species react with discomfort, some with disgust. Ethan frowned. "Well, they're stupid then." She stared at him for a moment, studying him as if trying to determine whether he was being sincere. He held her gaze without flinching. Finally, she relaxed her tense posture. "What you witnessed is called our celestial veil," she explained quietly. "It is our true form. Our light is emotional. It changes with our state of mind. Therefore, we hide it. We do not wish to be misunderstood." Ethan listened carefully. "Then I'm honored you trusted me enough to explain it." "It was not trust," she corrected. "It was necessity." He chuckled softly. "Then I'll work to earn the trust part." She tilted her head slightly as if examining a new concept. "You speak casually, even after seeing something sacred. Would you prefer I bow or perform a ritual?" "Because I can try." Her lips twitched just slightly. It was almost a smile, but held back like someone who had forgotten how to show joy. "There is no need." "All right then," he said softly. "Just thank you for not being mad." She stood quietly for a moment, and the light beneath her skin shifted, glowing faintly in soft gold hues. He did not know what that color meant, but he sensed it was not negative. "You may leave now," she said calmly. "I will reset the panel once I finish." "Okay," he replied. He took a step back, then paused. "Lyra, yes?" "For what it's worth. I'm glad I got to see the real you, even if it was by accident." This time she did not respond immediately. Her glowing hair drifted gently behind her as she looked at him. Her eyes, usually a flat gray, shimmered with reflected starlight. "Good night." "Ethan," she said softly. "Good night." He left the bathroom and closed the door carefully, making sure not to trigger another malfunction. Then he leaned against the wall in the hallway and exhaled deeply. His hands were shaking slightly, not from fear but from awe. He had lived with Lyra for days, thinking she was distant and unreadable. Now, in just a few minutes, he had seen more of her than he ever imagined. Not just her physical form, but her vulnerability. She was not just a disciplined warrior. She was someone who carried light beneath her skin and fear inside her heart. And now, she had allowed him to see both. That night, Ethan could not sleep easily. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment in his mind. Not the accident, but her expression afterward, the way she had expected him to recoil, the way she had braced herself for rejection. He wondered how many times she had faced that reaction before.
How many people had judged her without trying to understand her? He turned on his side and closed his eyes.
One thought settled firmly in his mind. He wanted to make sure she would never have to feel that way again. The next morning, Ethan woke up to the sound of faint humming. At first, he thought it was a recording or some sort of device, but then he realized it was Lyra. She was moving quietly in the living room, performing her morning exercises with precise, controlled movements. Her body glowed faintly through her clothing, just enough that Ethan could see the soft rhythm of light traveling along her arms and legs. It was mesmerizing and calming at the same time, like watching sunlight filtering through water. He got up and dressed, careful not to make noise. He wanted to give her space after last night's incident. Still, he could not help feeling a surge of curiosity. He had never known anyone like her. Humans were simple by comparison, predictable and transparent. Lyra was complex, full of mystery, and now he had glimpsed something extraordinary, something beyond anything he had imagined. As he prepared breakfast, he found her silently observing him from the corner of the kitchen. She was fully dressed now, robes neatly fastened, hair and light strands tucked carefully. Her gaze was calm but calculating, as if measuring his every move. Ethan felt a little nervous under her stare, but he smiled anyway. "Morning," he said casually, placing 2 cups of steaming herbal tea on the counter.
I made your favorite.
"Well, the flavor you like best." Lyra tilted her head. "You remembered?" "I remember lots of things," Ethan said with a small grin. "Like the time you fixed my backpack strap without saying anything. Or when you covered me with a blanket." Her eyes flickered with a golden hue for a moment. The color he had learned last night might indicate something positive. She made no comment but stepped forward and took the cup. Her hands were warm even through the light glow of her skin. Ethan could not stop noticing the gentle pulses beneath her fingertips. It made him feel oddly connected, as if there was some silent communication he could not yet understand. They ate breakfast in quiet harmony, neither rushing nor forcing conversation. The apartment seemed alive with a soft energy now, more than just machines humming or water pipes moving. There was a rhythm between them, subtle but undeniable, a growing trust that had not existed before. Later, Ethan sat at his desk working on research. Lyra quietly approached and placed a small metallic object beside him. It was a device he had never seen before, with intricate carvings that seemed to shift slightly when he looked at them. "This is a Solaran focus tool," she said softly. "It improves mental clarity. It may help you concentrate on your studies." Ethan looked up, surprised. "You've made this for me?" She inclined her head slightly. "Consider it a gesture. Do not misunderstand it as friendship. I am merely ensuring efficiency." Ethan smiled warmly. "I'll take it anyway. Efficiency is always welcome." She observed him carefully, and he noticed her light pulse and soft waves. Perhaps this was her version of a smile. He felt a surge of gratitude. Not many people would go out of their way to create something like this for someone else, especially someone they barely knew. The day passed quietly until the evening when the university announced a sudden system breach. A group of students known for xenophobic tendencies had hacked into the campus surveillance network. Their goal was to find any alien student and publicly humiliate them. Ethan did not know about the plot yet, but he noticed Lyra tense immediately when the alert came through. Her light flickered rapidly, silver turning to blue and back again, almost like a warning signal. "Lyra," he asked cautiously, "what's wrong?" "They may target me," she admitted softly. "The attackers seek to expose Solarans as different. They do not understand our forms and assume danger and difference." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we stop them." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "How do you intend to stop a breach?" "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but I won't let them humiliate you." Without hesitation, Ethan moved toward the campus control terminal. He had studied the university's security network enough to understand the basics. With Lyra's guidance, she gave instructions in calm, precise tones. He traced the breach back to the students responsible. They were about to leak footage from the broken bathroom panel, images that captured Lyra in her glowing form during last night's accident. Ethan's blood ran cold, but he stayed composed. He could not let her trust in him be destroyed. He locked the files and created a decoy feed, replacing any real footage with harmless data that would confuse the attackers. All of this happened while Lyra quietly monitored him, her glowing strands floating gently like a halo of light, offering silent reassurance. Once the immediate danger passed, Ethan turned to her. "They won't get to you," he said firmly. "Not while I can do anything about it." Lyra studied him, her eyes a mixture of surprise and something else he could not name. "You risked exposure yourself. she said quietly. I risk nothing compared to letting them hurt you, he replied. That night after the incident, Lyra spoke to him more openly than she had ever done before. They sat in the living room, sipping tea. The glow of her skin was faint now, just enough to reflect the warm light in the room, pulsing softly with calmness instead of tension. Humans are unpredictable, she said. I expected judgment, fear, or ridicule. Instead, you acted with bravery and understanding. Ethan shrugged. I guess I've always thought people are better than their worst reactions. You just have to give them a chance to be decent. She studied him for a long moment. You do not flinch at my true form, even when it is fully revealed. That is remarkable. Good, he said softly, because I want you to know I see you, Lyra, all of you. Not just the exterior, not just the glowing patterns or the threads of light, but the person inside. And I don't see anything wrong with that, only incredible. Her skin pulsed lightly with a golden glow, brighter than before. She leaned back slightly, contemplative, as if measuring whether his words were true. Then she said something that surprised him. Then you understand why Celerans hide. Our appearance is sacred. It represents our emotions, our state of mind, our very essence. If misunderstood, it can cause fear. And fear often leads to destruction. Ethan nodded. I understand. But you can trust me. I won't turn away and I won't treat it as something dangerous. It's amazing, Lyra, beautiful and amazing. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself a small motion of relief. Her light shimmered across her arms and shoulders, a living expression of something close to joy. She did not smile, but it was close enough. The following days were quieter, but the bond between them grew steadily. Ethan learned to read the subtleties of her glowing patterns, and she gradually revealed aspects of Celeran culture, their rituals, and their disciplined philosophy. He listened eagerly, fascinated by how different yet similar life could be across planets. He shared human stories as well, about courage, friendship, and mistakes made with good intentions. They began to exchange small jokes, subtle smiles, and moments of mutual respect. One evening, an unexpected challenge arrived. A group of xenophobic students attempted another attack, this time spreading rumors about Lyra's form being dangerous. Ethan acted quickly, standing beside Lyra as she allowed herself to glow fully in the public hall, not hiding anything this time. Her light flowed like living auroras, radiant and mesmerizing, commanding attention and awe. The students hesitated, unsure of how to react to someone so extraordinary, yet peaceful. Ethan stood beside her, his presence calm and steady, showing that she was not alone. His courage gave her strength, and her confidence strengthened him. I will not let them humiliate you, he said quietly, even as a few whispers spread through the crowd. You have courage, she replied, and loyalty. Together they faced the students. Lyra's glowing patterns shifted, responding to the confidence and calm she felt from Ethan. Their synchronized presence, human and Celaran side by side, created a quiet, undeniable power. The bullies had no choice but to retreat, stunned by the bond between the two. Afterward, the university recognized their bravery. Lyra's calm and courage, combined with Ethan's quick thinking and moral strength, became an example for all students about respect, understanding, and the value of different cultures working together. That night, in the quiet of their apartment, Lyra made a Celaran vow, a silent promise of loyalty and trust. She placed her hand softly glowing on Ethan's. You saw my true form, and did not turn away. From this day forward, I stand with you. Ethan smiled and squeezed her hand gently. Then I guess I've got the coolest roommate in the galaxy. Lyra's light pulsed gently in acknowledgement, a subtle yet powerful affirmation of trust and friendship. Ethan felt a sense of honor he had never experienced before. Their bond was not born from blood or shared victory in battle, but from understanding, courage, and acceptance. From that night onward, Ethan and Lyra became inseparable allies. They studied together, navigated the challenges of the university, and explored their shared curiosity about the universe. The accidental bathroom encounter, which had seemed like a disaster at first, became the catalyst for a friendship and alliance that would be remembered across galaxies. Ethan had learned that true bravery was not in hiding from the extraordinary, but in facing it with respect. Lyra had learned that trust could exist beyond her expectations, and that humans, though chaotic and unpredictable, could embody loyalty and courage that rivaled even the most disciplined Celerans. In a quiet corner of a small apartment on a distant planet, a human and an alien,